Hi there folks, so I'm going to launch straight in today without any starters or any other business because I'm going to try and get through this in 2 lessons. Now it's an hour and a half the paper, and hopefully you've had a good go at it by now. If you haven't, you need to do that now before watching this video, and if you haven't got the paper with you anymore, you can download it from this class charts entry. Right, so we're going to try and do the first half of the things, which will be the first 13 questions today. So I'll spend more time on some questions than others. Mark it the best you can. If you have any questions, come back to me. At the end of today, if you could just upload something to show that you've marked what you've done. You don't have to do all of it, maybe just the last couple of questions or something, or a question where things went a little bit wrong and you had to put in some correction. All I want you to do is mark it, anything that you've got wrong with a different colour, copy down my working. Question 1, writing down the inequality. This is showing that it can be anything below 2. It's got to be below 2. It's not or equal to. If it was or equal to, that circle would be filled in and would be solid. So it's less than 2, like that. So it's 2 marks for that. If you did, then that's just 1 mark. Right then, on to question 2. The nth term of a sequence is n squared plus 5. Find the first 2 terms. Well, the first term will be when n is 1. So 1 squared plus 5 is 1 plus 5, which is 6. And the second term when n is 2, 2 squared plus 5, 2 squared is 4, plus 5 is 9. So 6 and 9. Is 126 a term of this sequence? You must show how you get the answer. Well, what I would do is I would write n squared plus 5 equals 126 and see if solving this gets me a whole number. So take 5 away, gives me n squared equals 121. The square root of 121 is 11. So yes, the 11th term. So yes gets you a mark as long as you've got something to show this. It could be 11 squared plus 5 equals 126, something like that. Here are the first 5 terms of arithmetic sequence. So to find the nth term, we need to look at the difference. So we are going down by 7 every time. So that links it to minus 7n because it's the negative 7 times table. Now the negative 7 times table would look like this. So what do we have to add to negative 7 to get 26? And that would be 33. So you can either write it as negative 7 plus 33 or 33 take 7n. Either of those is correct. The class interval that contains the median, as there's 100 people taking it, if you add all of those up, that would total to 100, will be the one which has got, the median will happen at the frequency plus 1 divided by 2. So that's 50.5. So between the 50th and the 51st person, halfway between them. So all we have to do is add up the frequency. So I've got 10 in that bracket. Between 0 and 20, I would have 10 add 26 is 36. And then if I add on the 23 there, 59 is there. So I know that the 50th and 51st are both in this bracket of time. They must be between 20 and 30 minutes. So all you do then is copy that down exactly as it is. Just 1 mark. It has to be that. Draw a frequency polygon for the information in the table. Well, to do that, we need to put a cross on for from the midpoints. We need to put in how many we've got. So from 0 to 10 at 5, we would have 10. I'm getting these values from the table. So on the table, 10 to 20, the midpoint of that is 15. The frequency for that group is 26, so I would put a cross in there. 20 to 20 to 30, that would be at 25, 23, and so on. So you should get to your crosses there. Remember, it's 1 for each thing because it's from 0 to 10. You've got 10 divisions on each one. And once you've done that, you then need to connect all the crosses with straight lines like this. And that is your frequency polygon. Now there's more than one way to do this. You can find out which one is better value by pounds or by euros, by litres or pints. Any combination of litres and euros or pints and pounds or anything. So I'm going to show you mine. You may have, if you get the same answer and your working is good, then you can give yourself the marks as well. Right, so I'm going to do the whole thing in terms of pints, I think. So I know 1 pint costs 58p in London. So Paris, 1 litre equals 1.76 pints. So the cost of 1 pint is going to be 1.05 divided by 1.76 because there aren't as many pints. That gets our ratio down to 1 pint. So that gives me 0.596. 6 will be good enough for that. So that is right. So that's euros. So I need to turn, if I turn, which is easier to go from pounds to euros is timesing by 1.17, or we can, okay, let's go from, as we're in pints, it'd be better to be in pence, I reckon. So if I divide by 1.17, because you multiply to go from pounds to euros, divide to go the other way. Just so if I can get the accuracy here, if I just press divide by 1.17 and press equals, I get 0.5099. So so that would be 51 pence to the nearest penny in Paris, whereas it's 58 pence in London. So Paris is better value by 7 pence per pint, I could say, but you don't have to have that justification. You just need to have some working that gets you to the right place. So if you did some working and you think it's probably right and you got Paris, give yourself the marks. If you got London, you've definitely done something wrong, but you may get a working mark in there somewhere. Right, Simon's seeing 2 lights flashing every 15 and every 18. At 10 p.m. they both flash the same time in the next 4 minutes. So 4 minutes equals 4 times 60 is 240 seconds. So if we've got 15 and 18, we need to know the lowest common multiple first of all when they both come up together. So we've got 15, 30, and you could do it this way. Or you could do it by saying 15, I think this is going to be faster, 3 times 5, they're both prime. 18, 2 nines, 2 is prime, 3 times 3. And then I can make my Venn diagram and put 3 is the highest common factor, 5 times 3 makes 15, and 2 times 3 is 6, times 3 makes 18. So the lowest common multiple will be 5 times 3 times 6. So 6 15s or 5 times 18. 5 times 18 is easier, but you've got a calculator anyway. So that is 190. So it's going to happen every 90 seconds. So it'll happen after 90, 180 and then 270. Well, that's more than 4 minutes, isn't it? So it's just going to happen those 2 times. How many more times? 2 more times. So your final answer is 2. You get 1 mark for 2, but you do need to have some of your working in to show how you got there to get all 3 marks. Right, so we want pressure here in newtons per centimetre squared. This is telling you pressure is force divided by area. So the block on the ground, it's going to be, the area is going to be that area of that rectangle there, isn't it? So area equals 12 times 65, which is 780 centimeters squared. So then the force is going to be, so we know the force is 220, so the pressure is going to be 220 divided by 780. Just pop that into your calculator like that. Press equals, it says 11 over 39, so turn it to 0.282. It doesn't say exactly how many it wants you to leave it to. So you could leave it as a fraction if you wanted to, which was 11 over 39, but 0.282, and if you just write to 3 significant figures, you know you're safe. But as long as it says in the mark scheme anything between 0.28 and 0.283, it will accept, but it does want to have 1 working mark in there as well. Right, the perimeter is 64 and the ratio of the length of the sides is 6 to 5 to 5. Well, if you add 6 plus 5 is 11, plus 5 is 16 shares. 64 divided by 16 is 4 centimeters per share. So all we have to do is multiply all these numbers by 4 to give us 24 to 20 to 20 first of all. So which one is the 6? AB is 24, 20 and 20, but the area of a triangle is base times height over 2, isn't it? But there's a very clever bit we can do here. Because this is an isosceles triangle, this is where you have to be creative, and you can drop a perpendicular line straight down the middle. It splits your triangle into 2 that are 12 wide. And how high is this? Well, we've got a right angled triangle. This is the hypotenuse. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. On this occasion, this is a shorter side. So we're actually going for, if I call this x, 12 squared plus x squared equals 20 squared. So to find x, we're going to need to do 20 squared take 12 squared and then slap it all under a square root sign like that. So whenever it's a shorter side that you want, you're going to take the squares. Whenever it's the longest side, you add them. So the square root of all of that gives us 16 centimeters for the height. So if we know the height of it is that, then our whole triangle, the area is going to be, the base is 24 and the perpendicular height is 20, and that all needs to be divided by 2. Pop that in your calculator and you get 240 centimeters squared. There isn't a mark for the units here, because if you look at the bottom where you've got the dotted line, it has got centimeters squared written at the end there for you already. I'm sorry if this is going a bit fast, but I'm trying to get through it and not waste your time. If you need to hear it again, just rewind it and do that. to complete the table, all you do, you go menu, 3 is the table one, and then function x is basically your y, and you go alpha x cubed, take 3 alpha x plus 1 equals, forget about the function g, starting not from 1 but from -2, so you can put that in, and ending at +2. Step is already going up, it is going up in ones, press equals a couple of times and you get this as your table of values. So when it's -2, your y value is your function of x minus 1. So when it's -1, it's 3. When it's 0, it's 1. When it's 4, it's -1. And when it's 5, it's 3. You can do it by putting those values all separately in there, but it's quicker and easier to do it that way. Then you need to draw the graph below and connect it up with a nice curved pencil line, which should get us to something like this. Now, it does actually come from down here and finish going up there, but you don't need to draw that bit in because it only says from -2 to 2 as our values of x. But I'm just going to continue it on a bit anyway. And that's how it is. You notice I didn't try and do it all in one go. I just sketched it in little bits. It does not have to be absolutely perfectly done. Finding the value of that, you just need to put it in to make it look exactly the same. 6, oh hang on, so let's start with the bracket, 6.67 times 10 to the power. Just go down to here by pressing shift and then actually no, I'm going to go, forget that, you've got choices. You can take that shift off, you can just put times 10 to the power like that. I don't like the one on that shift bit down there. You can do it if you like, but I don't think it looks as nice, so I don't like doing that. Anyway, so then you come out of the power by pressing this with that and then times, and keep going, and you should get to this point. Press equals and you get that, which needs to be to 1 decimal place, so we need to press S to D to get out of a fraction to a decimal number, and you get 1.61. Now I'm going to write it to 2 decimal places just to make absolutely sure I don't do something silly, and then it's got to be 1.6, and then you just write 1.6 there. You don't have to write to 1 decimal place because they've asked you to. Right, cumulative frequency, about the number of minutes 60 people were in a shop, and we need an estimate for the number of people who were in the shop for more than 40 minutes. 2 marks here. First thing to do is to very clearly make sure you use a ruler to nail this, because this is the easy part and it's also easy to get wrong. Now that's definitely come down at 29 minutes, except I've done that wrong. It's meant to be more than 40 minutes, so ignore that. Very easy to just be very silly. Goes up to there, and I'm reckoning that's hitting it just before that. I'm going to call that 53 at that point, but the number of people in the shop for more than 40 minutes are actually just these people, and 60 take 53 is 7 people. Very easy. If you put 53 down, you can have 1 mark, as long as you showed where you read it off. Now it says that Stan's used the graph to find an estimate for the lower quartile. Stan writes 60 people were in the shop, 25% of 60 is 15, which is a quarter of it. So the quartile of the times is 15 minutes. What mistake has Stan made? He's confused minutes with people. So I would write that. He's confused minutes with people. And you could say to find the lower quartile, he needs to read off from 15. So he should be reading across there, and he's been doing that. But as long as you've written that, that should be enough. Looking at the mark scheme, I think it's seeming to want you to mention the cumulative frequency. So he should be reading from where it says cumulative frequency. It's basically the same thing. Both would be fine. Right, on to question 11. Here are two rectangles. The length of rectangle B is 25% greater than the length of rectangle A. Then it says about the width, and then it says find a fraction of rectangle B over the area of rectangle A. Right, so it might be a good idea just to it hasn't given us any real values, so let's just take some really simple ones, like 1. So when I say that, it's saying that the length of rectangle B is 25% greater. Then we don't know what the relationship of the lengths of A is to the width of it, but it doesn't actually matter. So as this is 25% greater, if length A for rectangle A was 1, 25% greater would be 0.25 more than 1. So that would be 1.25. And what about the width? Well, all that matters is that B is 3/5 of whatever A is. So if we call A 1 as well, we could call B 3/5, and 3/5 is 6/10, which is 0.6. So I'm just doing that so that it looks a little bit easier on the calculator, but we could put it in as 3/5. So the fraction we're going to have, area of rectangle B would be 1.25 times 0.6. Area of rectangle A will be 1 times 1. And then if I just put that into the calculator, because it looks a bit tricky to work out, well, I know 1 times 1 is 1, but I'm just going to put it in anyway. And it says 3/4, and that's the right answer. Now you might have done it some other way, and that's fine too, but just make these things as simple as you can. Right, now they love these questions because people do fantastically badly at them and they don't attempt them often. The important thing is just to think about how you work out the mean. So to work out the mean of all 30 children to be that, they would have said, right, we've got a number which is divided the total, so the total weight of all the children divided by 30, and they've got 32.85 kilograms. So to find out what all the children weighed, we could do 32.85 times 30 equals 985.5. Then we can do a similar thing for the 11 boys to find out how much they all weigh altogether, and then we can find out what the girls weigh. So that's total weight of everyone. So the boys are going to be 31.9 times 11, because that's what the mean means. If they all had the same weight, then they'd all be 31.9. You could just times it by 11 and you would know what they all weigh altogether, which is 350.9. So we need to know how much the 19 girls weigh. Well, if you take the weight of the boys away from the weight of the girls and boys all added together, that should help. Gives us 634.6. Now we know that there are 19 girls, so we now just need to divide by 19. press S to D, and we get exactly 33.4, which we can just pop down here. Okay, now I think these are easy. They're rated high, but they're not actually that difficult. So filling in everything that we can. On any day, the probability he goes by car is 0.2. And he's either going by car or bus. So they've got to add up to 1. So this must be 0.8. Now there's 2 marks for getting all of these right. If you get 1 wrong, it's 1 mark. If you get at least 2, but if you get that much right, you get 1. Right. When he travels by car, the probability he's late is 0.35. When he travels by bus, it's 0.15. Now, if he's late by car, it's that. So he's got to add, those two have got to add up to 1. So that'll be 0.65. And same here, it'll be an 85% chance that he's not late if he's late 15% of the time. Right, so that's 2 marks just for filling that out. Work out the probability on any day Lee goes to work he is late. So we need this one and we need this one, which means we work out this branch along here and this one along here, then we add them together, because if his chance of being late by car is 0.2 times 0.35, his chance of being late by bus is 0.8 times 0.15. Okay, so that is 7 out of 100, or 0.07. And the next one is 3 over 25, or 0.12. So then the chance he's late on any given day is going to be 0.12 plus 0.07, which is 0.19. And that's all your marks done there. By the way, if you wanted to work out that root there and that root there and then add all 4 together, that will come to 1. Otherwise you've made a mistake. Alright folks, I hope that wasn't too painful. I will see you for the rest of it tomorrow, and so upload a little bit of what you've done for me today, and then tomorrow the same idea, but I would like you to give me a total score out of 80 for how well you reckon you got on with that.